tell people, hush, hush,
Oh,
this is
sorry.
coming out on Tuesday. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. The magic of podcasting. We were just saying, I feel like we were together just a couple of days ago, and we
We
actually
were.
were.
We were. Typically, we get this episode out to you, which is our RHORI recap that we've been doing all season. We get that out to you on Tuesdays. But, life happens, and sometimes our schedules get a little finagly, and we have to get it to you later in the week. But here we are on Tuesday for you guys. And we were just discussing before we hit record how crazy it is that the season is almost done.
I
So, one more
know.
episode left after this is the finale. We don't know how many parts of a reunion. They definitely got a reunion, right? I don't remember
For
seeing the
sure.
seating chart. I'm sure they did. So I'm sure it'll
Yeah.
be at least two parts if they're getting a full reunion. And, you
Yeah.
know, I don't want to cry yet because we're not
I
done yet, but
know.
this has been so lovely doing with you. And it's been fun just covering the news as well. So I hope you guys have
Yeah.
been enjoying listening to us do our Rory recaps and getting into
Yes.
some news topics as well.
I just turned on my computer a moment ago and I saw a lovely comment on YouTube from somebody saying, I'm loving these recaps with you too.
That's so
So,
nice.
yeah, thank you to everybody that's taken a minute to leave a comment. I'm so sorry to the person on Dana's YouTube that doesn't like me, but everyone
Just one
else,
person.
it's been a pleasure getting to kind of mix our audiences a little bit more. I know we've podcasted together over the years, but I feel like people have really responded well to this, and it's been really fun to do something consistently
Yeah.
where we're, talking about a show developing, over a season. And this has been, I think, one of the best first seasons that we've maybe ever had. Like, I just feel like we know these women so well, and it's literally their first season. But
Yeah.
we can get into all of that. But I don't want it to be over. It's such a good
I
show.
know, I know. And like that's why I'm glad they did an after show too, so that there was just more content. But like it's very clear, the skies are ahead for Real
Yeah,
Housewives of Rhode Island. I'm sure there'll be many, many seasons ahead. It's just been so great. I've been enjoying it. What
yeah.
I'm also still really into, and I can't help it, is Summer House. I did not think
Mm-hmm.
we'd have anything else to talk about today because I just did a reality roundup with Tom Hamlet yesterday being Monday, and we talked about Summer House for at least half an hour. We talked about the baby birding, from Amanda
Mm.
into Westmouth. We talked the bun.
Oh,
We talked all the things, but West has seemed to, as much as he is like a mute when it comes to those reunions, he truly is using his piece of shit podcast with his MAGA Barbie podcast host to speak his mind. And it feels very unfair. It feels very Will from Southern Hospitality, where it's like, I'm not going
mm.
to speak at the reunion, but then I'm going to go on a podcast and say things in my narrative, in my way. So he came out today on his piece of shit podcast to talk about Amanda leaving the stage because that was like such a big thing for everyone.
Mm.
So I'm going to play the clip for you guys. And don't worry, those of you who have been mad at me before about the way I play clips, I will make sure that there is a proper version. I just want to make sure that Yana hears it, and then I'll make sure that there is a
Mm.
proper version on top. Okay. So
Okay.
let me know that you can hear this.
Amanda getting up part, we talked before, we were like, we have individual relationships, friendships with all these
Yeah.
people. Like, we should answer for ourselves. Let's not speak for each other. We agreed, hold it down as individuals. And so she got up. I was like, one of us needs to be on the stage. Again, if I would have left right away and then we were both gone, then they're like, oh, these two people who are the reason we're upset both left.
Yeah.
She had to take a break. That's fine.
Yeah.
What has she said about it?
She agreed that I should have stayed there. She was going to go fucking take a sec and come back. I didn't want them all on stage without two of us. I felt like that's a worse look. I knew she was fine.
Did any of you want to like stick up for yourself or like say anything, but you just didn't have the opportunity to say anything because they just kept going at you guys?
Again, I was like, I did lie to you guys. Like, you have every right to be upset with me. I just know, like, meeting anyone on that level, I don't think that will ever in my lifetime be how I stand up for myself. It is so clear reunions are like not what I am made for.
So clear,
Sure.
West. It is so clear.
It's interesting
Wow.
that they had a conversation about that they actually had a discussion
Mm,
that, okay, one of us needs to be here on the stage. I wonder why that is. Oh, I guess it's because they didn't want to let the narrative get away without them, right? If they're both gone, they can let the rest of the cast tell the story, right? But then at the same time, neither of you are speaking when you are on stage. So what's the
correct.
difference?
Exactly. Like there's no difference. It's not a better look if one of them is there. Nobody is answering the questions. And I think we talked about this last week. I think you asked the question, do you have any questions left? And I have so many questions because we're just airing out the emotion of it all. Nobody is really getting to the nuts and bolts of everything we saw unfold. Like,
Right.
where was the conversation about, the hypocrisy of West not letting Jesse get away with even asking to make out with Sierra when he's got a
Right.
girlfriend secretly at home and he's truly got something going on with Amanda, whatever it was, and actually has no interest in Sierra at all. Like, it's diabolical that he's got this like mastermind going, like he's the puppeteer of all of this stuff going on behind the scenes, but is playing like, yeah, I'm just like the good guy and I'm never gonna meet someone at their anger. I'm just gonna, that's just never in this lifetime gonna be me. Like, what are you on about? Like we have so many questions and it is,
We're
oh
never
my
going to
God,
get
I'm
those
like,
answers, right? Like, I mean, I'm really excited for the
no.
reunion tonight.
Mm.
And us finally putting this all to bed. But I am so certain that we're walking away without a lot of questions answered. But the one question that I hope we do get answered, and we did see it in at least the reunion trailer, was Andy saying, "Are you two in love?" Or the question of, "Are you two together? Are you two in an established
Yeah.
relationship?" Because what people keep saying to her on the stage or making fun of her for is that she's now one of West's side chicks. And no one has
Hmm.
debunked that, right? So, like, are you
Yeah.
guys in a committed relationship? Is that what's happening?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I had written down. Like, are they actually together? Do we even know that? Like, nobody is opening their mouths to say
Right.
anything. And like, I get that everybody had so much like pain and betrayal. It was the first time they were all in a room together. So people wanted to get their experiences out and like
Hmm.
share, like KJ, sharing about his dad and why this has affected him so personally because it's so close to home. But like we need all that out of the way. And now we need to like get down to the brass taxes of it all. And like at least give some, I don't know. As you say, I don't think they would ever be truly honest about when all this started because all the internet sleuths are putting things together. But it has to have been going on. This girl was a different girl this entire season. And I don't
Yeah.
mean in the way that we've seen her before when her relationship is crumbling, where she's just in bed and depressed. Like, this girl had such a, like, fuck, I'm good vibe about
Yeah.
her this summer. And you only get that when you feel good about yourself. And why would she be feeling good about herself if her marriage was completely falling apart, other than if there was somebody else in her life making her feel, special?
Right.
And clearly that was going on.
Yeah.
You know, there's no getting away from it. And we have to have answers to all of her behavior, those lingering hugs, that like grin and the thumbs up after Kyle lost it, sidling up to that girl that West was making out with and
Yeah.
telling West to like look at my ass while I walk away. Like,
So many questions left over. Like,
so many.
I
Like,
know.
all of that I really hope Andy gets to some of those because we need something more concrete than just how everybody's feeling, you
I
know?
will take another 6 parts, please.
Yes,
Um,
please.
but I am not watching any of the Below Decks this year. I know that you are big
Mm,
into that, and you told me that there is
yes.
something a brewing below the
There sure
waters. What is going
is.
on?
Well, this one is on deck, it seems. So Eddie Hounsell is a New Zealander who's a deckhand who's been a big part of the story on Below Deck Down Under this season. He was involved in kind of a love triangle with Chef Ben and one of the stews called Jenna. And, he has been like, he's quite an emotional guy and has had no problem kind of like tapping into that and sharing that with the audience. And we've seen some like touching moments between him and Captain Jason. And, he was kind of like a more sensitive person than like, the guy in the love triangle. You know what I mean? He
Mhm.
was like hoping for a relationship and, got fucked over pretty, badly by her. And, he just seems like all round a really nice guy, just a lovely guy, And so he has posted a whole fleet, pardon the pun, of stories this morning or last night calling out Ben and Ronnie from Watch What Crappens
Oh
for
no.
a double standard where they are not talking about women particularly badly, but according to Eddie, are constantly commenting on the way the men look, their hair, their facial hair, their bodies. And he feels like it's gone too far. So he has, alongside all of this, he's written quite a number of stories, lots of like a long kind of essay on his experience and his kind of journey through mental health and the experience he's had as a person on this show. And we've talked about this before when I had Joe Bradley on the show, the floods of hate that came into my feed from all our collabed posts, all like so nasty to him, literally telling him to go kill himself, that, he's the worst piece of shit on the face of this earth for doing, kind of what that girl was doing to Eddie, which is hooking up with other people. And Joe seems to kind of just take it all with a grain of salt. He's become a good friend of mine. We had a FaceTime a couple of days ago, actually, because he's got a new season coming out this week. And I'm like, are you okay? Are you ready for this? And, he's quite able to kind of separate the things. Whereas it feels like Eddie's had, this has been difficult for him. And so I think it's really interesting. I had never, I listened to Watch What Crappens, but I had never sort of thought about those guys as being particularly nasty or, not making comments on women and only commenting on the men. So Eddie's point was, this is Men's Mental Health Month and that kind of trolling and bullying online is not okay, which obviously we agree with. But, I think this is really interesting as content creators because obviously we are making judgments and assumptions and we have opinions and a lot of people are making psychological assessments of people. And, this is kind of like par for the course in this world. But where do we draw the line? And I know this is something you're really passionate about in terms of commenting on people, and you have spoken out before about this kind of thing. So, what are your thoughts? It's a pretty big one.
It's such a delicate dance. And I think that, as content creators, initially, we're just out here, one, to have fun, and two, we're creating the content for our followers. It was never intended to be for the Bravo Lebs. But because of the way our environment works and the way the Bravo Leb community works, it's very symbiotic, which I've always discussed. They exist for us and us for them. So they do follow us. I mean, I would never, and this is something I talked about last year, however I felt about Janet, I was never going to post "fuck you, bitch" because she
Mm.
follows me. Like that would be
Yeah.
crazy. To me, that's it. That's synonymous with like saying it to her face, right? I know that people
Yeah.
love to do that, but like, so, but then at the same time, there's like the par for the course. Now, I haven't heard the Crappens episode, and I don't know if this is an episodic thing or this is stuff that they're actually posting on Instagram. I mean, either way, I'm sort of the mind of like, well, why are you listening to the Crappens guys, right? Like,
Mm.
because then there's also the mentality of like, just in general, if there's something you don't like in general, like, do not listen to it, remove it from your life. Sorry if you could hear that. Is that kind of loud? Can you hear that?
Is there a little grumble from Judy?
No,
Judy's
that's
got
like a car
opinions.
outside. I'm like, I
Oh,
have the door
okay.
open. Okay. I hope you can't hear it. Of
I
course
thought
it's
Judy
getting
was
loud now.
chiming in.
No. I just want to make sure like you can't hear like all the
Oh, good.
backfire kind of thing. Um
No.
So yeah, it can be just sort of that delicate dance, right? If I
Mm.
was talking mad shit about like Leonardo DiCaprio, would he ever find out? Absolutely not. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
just, he's so separate from like a quote unquote real celebrity is just so separate from what we're doing online. But Bravo Labs are so immersed in the online
Mm.
experience, which I guess has pros and cons, right? So I don't know
Yeah.
the answer to it, but it's something that I'm constantly kind of going back and forth with. Even actually with the Amanda stuff, I have to be honest, where I'm like sort of looking at inward a little bit. I'm like, am I really making fun of someone's hair and
Mm.
and their clothing? Like, is that's not who I am, right? Like,
Yeah.
is that the level that we're getting to? And it's just, does it affect these people? Sure. And is it our responsibility to make sure their mental health is safe? No, it's probably their own. The double standard, I don't know
Mm.
how I feel about it. It's interesting because, like, Watch What Crappens, I would never allow them to say horrible things about women, right? But, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
men deserve it. I don't know what to say on that. You know what I mean? Like, they have to
Like
have
they
their
got to get it
time.
somewhere.
I don't know. I don't know. How do you feel about the whole,
Mm.
how it's like a delicate dance because it's not content for them, but it is content they're
Yeah.
consuming.
Yeah, it is a really tricky one, and it's a dance I have found difficult, genuinely because I'm a therapist in real life, where in my job, where I'm working with people, I am in a completely neutral, non-judgmental state. I'm not picking apart their outfit or their behavior
Right. That would
in
be
the
crazy.
way that I would here. And sometimes I find that line really difficult to walk as well because it's like, yes, I am publicly telling everyone I'm a therapist, but when I'm here, I am a consumer just like everybody else. And maybe there's a different layer of understanding or a different lens that I'm looking through, but I'm certainly not using any clinical judgment when I'm losing my shit about Sheena,
Yeah.
and like Tamra Judge. I'm not kind of going there as a therapist who's got like considered opinions about somebody's mental state. I'm just a fan who's getting
Right.
really excited about things. And so I do have to catch myself a little bit sometimes too. I don't think I would be commenting ever on anybody's body or how good looking or ugly I find somebody. I
But you
might
know
talk
what?
about someone on the inside.
We don't, but then
Yeah.
Love is Blind, we did, you know? And I think like I don't know if you ended up watching this last season, but I definitely I'm not the kind of person that will ever talk about somebody's looks either. But when there was these like crappy men who were talking about women and you weren't doing
Oh,
Pilates enough and this and that,
mm,
we were coming at them. We were calling them
yeah.
like Keebler elves and this and that, right? And it felt weird, but I don't know. It seems to maybe be like an intrinsic go-to,
Mm.
you know, like
It's like a childhood,
it hits them
like
where it
a
hurts.
playground insult,
Right.
like well, like that guy I know who you're talking about. Everyone on the internet was called, picking on him for being short,
Right.
so that was like the thing because that's all we had because we'd said all the words about how nasty and horrible and all of the things he was. And then it's like, who's this guy anyway because he's so short? So I understand that there is that kind of human desire to kind of like get your claws out and attack on the most obvious thing. It's like
Yeah.
calling somebody bald or calling somebody, like old or like that kind of thing. But I
Yeah.
think what Eddie was pointing to was that it seemed to him, and I must say, like, I do listen to them and I hadn't actually picked it up because what they do is for people that maybe haven't listened to their show, they do recaps where they're kind of putting on the voices and they're sort of, it's like a pantomime version of the episode. And yes, they definitely throw their opinions in there, but it's kind of meant to be comedy. But Eddie's point is none of this is comedy when it's pointed and about the way somebody looks. And, like generally speaking, like he's right. The way someone looks should never be used for comedy, but it is. It is. That is what comedians do. They make fun of the way people look and act and behave, and, it's observational. But I guess in this circumstance, you know, if you're making fun of somebody's mustache and you're talking about someone like calling them a loser and whatever, like
That's
that's
what we're
this
talking
completely
about here.
different
We're
thing.
making fun of his mustache.
Yeah,
Is
I mean,
this
I can play you a bit of the clip that he posted. Do you want to hear a little bit? He actually said this is by no means the worst bit, but this was an example, and I
okay?
will. Oh, have the stories gone?
Oh, they're gone now.
They're
You know what?
gone.
I'll
Hang
go and
on.
I'll take a listen back because now I'm kind of curious myself, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm
So
curious.
he,
I'm curious to hear how bad it was and what it was. I think it does also depend on what it is because if you're saying if they're talking about like your body, that is so inappropriate. If they're talking
yeah,
about your hair, I don't know.
I've actually been able to click back in. Let's see.
Okay.
Last episode featured almost no Eddie. In fact, to a degree that I thought was almost strange. I thought, like, did something happen? Because he was, I think he
Maybe
only
they went to his Instagram.
I actually think that's what happened. I kind of feel like people saw his Instagram and were like, "Oh yeah, let's not like center him on this," because he was sort of a big part of the episodes leading up to the finale, and then he barely got any confessionals. He barely got any moments. It seemed like he was just like almost written out of the show. And I mean, I was glad. I mean, I think the guy was a piece of shit.
Well, I'll tell you what they did not write out was his terrible hair and his mustache. That was still there.
Yeah.
So congratulations
that was definitely
for making the final cut.
Yeah.
They were so bad they had to keep it. So here we go. Below deck, down on chat.
That was it. Wait a minute. We had that
as he
entire
said,
conversation about
he
that.
said, no, he said it wouldn't let me upload all the other. He said this was mid with lots of D's compared to what's been said about myself and the other cast.
Okay.
So this was.
Let's
he was just
revisit. You know what? Let's put our investigator hats on. Let's revisit. I'll take a listen to the episodes and maybe we can see if this is worth like another deep dive because like I love that we talked about this in theory and the concept of it because it is really important and it is something that we deal with and his feelings are valid, right? I totally get that. But now having heard how minor it is, you got to get a little bit of thicker skin because people are gonna tell you to die, okay? And if someone's gonna make fun of your mustache and you can't handle it, then you can't be on reality TV. That's my hard and fast opinion.
Yeah, look, I hear you. And I think it's part of a bigger picture with him. Like he is calling out the bigger stuff too. It's just interesting because I haven't really seen people go after Ben and Ronnie before. You know, they're kind of the godfathers of the podcasting, the Bravo sphere, you know? So this is really the first time I'm seeing them.
Maybe he's unaware of that, right? Like he's, again, entitled to his opinions, but like Ben and Ronnie are more important to the Bravo community than you are. Like, if Bravo had to choose between Ben and Ronnie and this person, they will choose Ben and Ronnie hands down. You know what I mean? I mean, like
they're beloved.
What do you call it? They host at BravoCon, right? They've been on Watch What Happens Live. Like they're integral to this community. They're sort of like beloved and they even became part of the Summer House reunion, right? Because like the after party. So I don't know. I'm not saying like you can't have your opinions about a podcast, but like, maybe think about who you're fighting with. But yeah, let's reviz. Okay, let's get into the episode of Real Housewives of Rhode Island. We are in our second to last episode. We start with Joellen calling Alicia after the lunch that she has with Liz to tell her how awful it went. This was a little interesting to me. So she then kind of says to the camera, like, she gets all emotional. She's like, I'm just going to suck it up. I just got to suck it up like I did in my childhood. I'm just going to suck it up.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that is. Like, do you think that was genuine or do you think that was her kind of like putting on a little like victim hat?
I thought that was borderline. I feel like it's true that she did have to suck it all up and she had a really tough experience as a kid and she got used to having to do that, but I don't think she was actually emotional in that scene. So I think it was just like a throwaway line that connected to something that was true. So she was just like, well, I'm just gonna have to suck it up like I did in my childhood. I'm not the victim. And there was no tear, no nothing, but it was true. I mean, it is true, but this is by no means anywhere near as big as what she experienced as a child. So You know, I think it was just like one of those confessional moments. Yeah.
Um, you mentioned earlier that it sort of feels like we know these people so well. The one thing I feel like I still don't know that well is, I guess, the history of the relationship between Joellen and Liz, because the
Mm.
through line that Joellen is trying to claim this episode is like, we were good friends, we were best friends, we were all these things.
Yeah.
But she hasn't really pointed us to any examples. You know, usually people will be like, last summer our families went away to Cabo together, or,
Yeah.
you know, last Christmas we did this together, right? So there was no pointing to that. I'm not saying it's not true, but and that's just comes with the territory when it's like a first season kind of cast. But I would like to get some more history on that, because
Yeah.
the way that Liz is acting is if Joellen is like an extremely throwaway person to her and she could not care less. So I don't know
Yeah.
if Joellen is delusional or Liz is just being a bitch.
Yeah, I actually want to go back to maybe the first two episodes again when I had no idea who anyone was.
Good
So I
idea.
could barely kind of keep up with, like, you know, we were getting introduced to them, but they literally all just looked identical. So I was like, hang on, wait, hang on. You've got the pizza shop? No, hang on. I thought you had the pizza
Yeah.
shop. Were you the weed one? Hang on. No, you're the one with the high school, your sister's boyfriend. Like, honestly, I could not keep it straight at all in the beginning. And I feel like there's a little like granule of a memory that there was some explanation of their connection through the years. But
Okay.
honestly, like Liz is the godfather. She
Right.
knows everybody, you know? Don't you think? But
Yeah.
I think they go back and maybe she knows, you know, like they all sort of loosely know each other through the years from school and siblings and that sort of thing. Like weirdly, her sister is best friends with Alicia's mum.
Right.
So again, Liz is 100 and she's 25. Like
Right.
I don't, she's this enigma. Like the age is nothing makes sense, but she knows everybody,
Yeah.
you know. And I think you got to
Um,
sleep with one eye open.
Pretty much. Okay, we get some information about Rula and her toe and how she lost her toenail, and that was kind of gross to watch while I was eating. But she
Can
goes
I
to
just
visit Brian.
say,
Yeah.
oh yeah, like feet, yeah. Like we don't need to. You know, it was a lot. And I
She has
also
so
just,
many medical ailments, right? Like every
yes,
episode,
like
she's got something going on
what
medically.
is happening?
I
I
know.
know. And I just, like, I saw her walking into Brian's office with some food and a flask, like, such a good wife. And, like, I just wondered what was going through the receptionists' minds. There they
Who's
are, just
probably
these
met the mistress. You know what I mean?
100%. She's a part owner in the business, right? Like
Wait, she is?
everybody, yes,
The
he
mistress
gave
is?
her, yes.
This sounds
That's what
familiar.
part of the NDA was about, is that like he gave her part of the business of some
Oh,
kind.
that doesn't sound like a
Yeah,
good idea. Okay.
no. So, you know, like how she walks around, like it just feels like the house of cards are so precariously built, and she's trying so hard to make it look like something else.
Yeah.
And we all see the guy sweating and like tugging at his collar. And, you know, this is just so uncomfortable. Every
Yeah.
scene that they're in together, I find so uncomfortable to watch.
I still find it fascinating that they're even doing it, right? Like I've been saying this since the beginning. Like, is this a joke? Right? Like it sort of feels like
Yeah.
him being a part of this. They
Yeah.
talk about how they're going to have this Arabian Nights end of summer party, and they decide to invite everyone except Joe Ellen because Rula thinks that
Mhm.
Joe Ellen has bad energy, and it's like it's just like the classic like blame the person who's giving
Yeah.
you the information. And at the end of the day, Rula, you did say you wanted the information, and now you're mad that
Yes.
it's being brought to you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, or that somebody, like, I get why you are, right? Like, again, it's just so classic and so cliched, like what's happening here. But it's like her instinct is to be mad at Joe Ellen for being the one with the info.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And like, I'm sorry, but you don't want Joellen in your home because you don't want bad energy in your house. Like,
that's your
honey,
cheater husband.
bad energy is coming from your man who
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
you know, still doing terrible things and humiliating you on an international stage at this point. This is beyond your little community now. Like the entire world now knows what a scumbag your husband is. Like it's I can say that in the, you know, the echoes of Eddie, like I can say that factually. Like he is not doing anything honorable in his marriage. And they've chosen to put it on TV. Like it's wild. I just like I
I
feel
mean, I would sit here and
simultaneously
say, like, I'd love to hear more at the reunion, but I don't think we're going to get it from her because I don't think she's going to be honest. She's just not going to be honest. Like,
no.
one day she will. One day she'll leave him and she'll do a huge podcast and she'll be like,
Yeah.
you know, I was covering up everything. I was putting on like rose-colored glasses and I was lying to the cameras and blah, blah. Like, we'll hear it all, but
Yeah.
it's, it's embarrassingly obvious what's happening here. It's not even like,
Yeah.
you know, undercovers, and it's just weird.
Yeah.
We get another scene of like Ash and Jared and a discussion of the Audrey's lease. I don't really
Yeah.
care so much to keep talking about that, but his lack of interest in food I thought was interesting. Like he only likes
Yes.
bland food. He just turned out to be a lot blander than I thought. But you know what? In the zeitgeist of men, right? And how
Mhm.
bad they can be. I guess if he's a nice man who's bland and will never cheat on you, I guess you've got a winner. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's quite handsome too. Like at least even if he's bland, he's great to look at, you
Yeah,
know? Like um and he does seem like he's very much a family man. Like he feels solid and
yeah.
connected, although, you know, he is at the cafe, you know, 12 hours a day.
That and he doesn't
But
like going to dinner or he doesn't like going to
yeah.
restaurants. Like that would kind of bug
Yeah.
me. Like, because if I don't know what that means exactly, because he's obviously not completely a homebody because he's always at Audrey's, but like I could see not wanting to go out ever or to be so bland in terms of like your lifestyle too. Like, I don't like to try new things. I don't like that could affect a relationship. Like, people talk about
Yeah.
that a lot at the beginning. Like, people who are like newly dating, they'll be like, no, I'm not interested in
Yeah.
somebody who has food issues, or no, I want
Yeah.
somebody who wants to try new things with me. Right. So it doesn't seem to be a thing with
Yeah.
them. But yeah, he's just like extra, extra bland, where like even like
Yeah.
taco seasoning from the package is like too much.
It's too much. Yeah. Just he'll
So
eat the
cute.
macaroni and cheese with the 1-year-old. Like,
Hey, I'm right there with you. I'm eating the chicken
yeah.
fingers with the kids, you know. No,
I
for
mean,
sure. So I don't know. I
yeah,
mean,
that
like
was
like
a
we keep talking about, they'll have to come up with something for next season. But
yeah.
yeah,
What
long
do you
live
think?
Audrey's.
There's a little bit of kind of pushback from the fans with Ashley, and there are a few people saying, nah, she's not the right fit.
I think I see why they're saying it, but you know what? I'm always about giving someone a second chance. I don't even think like she had a bad season. It's not that.
Mm.
And I truly believe that every season, like, despite the fact that you're supposed to have a storyline, these are just your seasons of life. So, like, if you're not having a
Yeah.
lot going on that year, you don't have a lot going on. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having just like one piece more so of a peaceful person.
Mm.
If this isn't for her, like, if she can't handle the yelling and the screaming, then that's up to her. But if she's down for it and she's down to do another season, then I'm down to have her. And I know, like,
Yeah.
I've said this before, she's capable of being a little bit more devious, right? Like, I've
Yeah.
seen things on The Bachelor and stuff like that. So she has that capacity. But I still feel like it's interesting where, like, you almost have to find your footing in Bravo in addition to finding your footing in reality TV. Like, usually you go from being a civilian to finding your way in
Yeah.
reality
Yeah.
TV, but there's a difference between Bachelor Nation and Bravo. And you need to kind of find your way there as well. And there's a difference between a dating show and a housewife show. Very different, vastly different, right? So
Hmm.
let her find her footing. That's where I'm
Yeah.
sitting.
I like that. And I do feel like it's almost like a bit of a palate cleanser with the intensity of everybody else's personality and clashes. You
Yeah, for
know,
sure.
it's a little bit like, oh, okay, we're back with this family for a minute. Okay,
Yeah.
relief. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
and I like that Jared at the very least will, like, he knows, like you said, he's such a family man, so he knows that all of that comes before Audrey's, and he even says, like, if I have to close it, like, I know that that's what's best for my family, right? So like,
Yeah.
he'll never like put that on Ashley or make her feel bad about it. And like,
Yeah.
you know, reality TV sometimes isn't for everyone because sometimes a couple is just too solid
Yeah.
for it in a way. But in
Totally.
another way, like, it's nice for us to see. It's nice for us to see a couple that, like, has strong roots and strong family
Yeah.
values. And yeah, it's just nice to see, I guess.
Yeah, it is nice. It is nice. It's refreshing,
Yeah.
But whether she'll be able to keep up. But I also think she's needed for Rosie because Rosie's making inroads with some of them, like with Alicia, but I think she's not quite secure enough in the group yet
Yeah.
on her own. I think she needs Ashley,
Yeah.
and they need they're kind of good together, I think. Yeah.
So we get this fun scene of Dolores and Liz going to meet with the state senator about like legislative changes
Yeah.
to menopausal women now being a protected class in the workplace. I think it's great. I think this is a really
Yeah.
different storyline that they've been trying to bring in. And,
Yeah.
it just shows like how much Rhode Island is really like a family and how like how small it truly
Yes.
is. This is cool, especially because I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure I'm hitting my menopausal state. I'm definitely experiencing many of the symptoms, but they could be, I mean, so many different things, but I
Yeah.
feel seen.
Yeah. And what I really liked was, I don't know whether it was Dolores or Liz, but one of them said, like none of the women in the generations above were talking about this. So, menopause and
That's true.
perimenopause is such a big thing all over social media now, and it's on podcasts, and people are talking about it much more openly. And so the thought that they feel the urge to be the pioneers for the next generations to normalize this experience that every single woman is going to go through in some way, shape, or form was really touching. I thought that
Yeah.
was great. That's like it's been, touched on here or there, but like the fact that they're kind of making this their platform and creating a gummy, whatever that's going to be, I feel like it's great, and I'm really proud of them for
Yeah.
choosing that because in years gone by, it was kind of too embarrassing to talk about the change and like what happens to
The
women.
ongoing changes.
The ongoing. That's right. So yeah, I think that's again another like thing that sets this show apart from some of the others.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we close out with Rula's party. Everybody looks beautiful, and we sort of come back
Mm,
down to it with Kelsey and Alicia again. Their men try to encourage them to talk. They tried to get a little Jersey man in there where they're like, "Hey,
yeah.
ladies, do you think we could figure it out?" I mean,
Yes. The
for
husbands.
for me, it feels like neither of these women have any interest in getting to know each other. I think this is another set of women where there's a history, which we have talked a little bit about from
Mm,
interviews and stuff, but I think we'll get more about their backstory on the reunion. I think these are two women who have no interest in being friends or getting to know each other for whatever reason and feel like they
yeah.
just have to do it for the cameras. And yeah,
Yeah.
feel like I've said this before. In theory, you would think that they would be good friends, right? Like they're young,
Yeah.
around the same age, I don't know. And I think they're gonna have to figure it out though. Like you're fighting about literally nothing. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that like everybody has to be friends on the cast, like LOL, but like at the same time, like you guys gotta be you can't not be able to be in the same room together. It's only season one.
Yeah. Kelsey's really got a sort of I don't give a fuck vibe with it. I feel like Rosie would be more open to it. Like I feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm understanding Rosie a little bit more now. Like I'm feeling her feelings a little bit more. And I do think there is kind of that part of her that wants to be liked by everybody. And she just knows that Kelsey has no interest in her for whatever reason. And so I think that's part of what she reacts to and why we
Yeah.
got to Slam Pig, because it's just this kind of like, she's protecting herself. Like she's feeling completely rejected, I think, by this person and
Hmm.
knows that it's not a real friendship she can work towards. So, I think she's acting tough, but I think actually she's more hurt by it than she may be letting on. Whereas
Yeah.
I don't think Kelsey cares at all
Yeah,
about
I agree.
Rosie,
I agree. Yeah.
So that sort of firework will be great for next season to see where
Hmm.
that goes. What do you really think is going on with Liz? Is it menopause? Is this all just one amazing ad for menopause and rage?
You know what?
I mean, like,
Again, now I feel like I have to disagree with you about how well we know these women because I don't know. It could, it
mm,
could, I don't know because she tells us at some point near the end of the episode, or I think it might be around this time to the camera, like, I never mean to harm anyone. Sometimes I just say things, it just comes out. But then, like, on the back end, Alicia's like, I don't ever want to talk to her again. Like, I just don't want to
yeah,
have like any interaction with her. I think that speaks volumes because they've had this long-standing relationship. I realize that Alicia is specifically very hurt, but for her not, she seems like a very forgiving person. So for her to not
yeah.
even be able to do that with Liz, I think speaks volumes. But I don't know, right? Because sometimes she seems like
Mm,
last episode, she seemed like evil. But then this episode, she's
yeah.
like, I don't mean it. And it's like, sometimes it feels a lot more than you just saying things that come out of your mouth sometimes. Sometimes it does feel a lot more planned
Mm.
and calculated. So I don't know,
There's a
but I'm
lot of
intrigued by
venom.
her. Yeah, there's a lot of venom.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I don't
we
know.
see it as well with Joellen,
Yeah,
like is she so protective of, her image? Because it seemed
maybe.
like or being perceived the wrong way, because she seemed to be so sensitive on that point in the car. It was like Joellen was insinuating like you're the crazy one, you're the bad one, and Alicia was, in Liz's words, like calling her character into question. And that
Yeah.
seems to be the thing that really lights the fire for Liz, and I don't think it was really about the homeless, not toothless. I don't think it was really about Joellen not saying enough, but it was about like you know, you didn't say any good things about me and you're calling me this. So there's some really internalized not good enough thing with Liz, and she's just like
Or you're frozen for a second.
herself.
Oh, there you are. Okay. You froze for a sec. I think on top of that though, like we don't know just because we don't know, but it could also be not just an internal thing, but also being on a first season show and just having that kind of fear ahead of you of being like, how am I going to be perceived
Yeah.
by the public? Right. Because she has admitted to being somebody who watches these shows. So she probably has a sense of what the fandom is like. And this is sort of just becoming a thing in all reality shows. A lot of people are already saying it about week one of Love Island. Like you can really tell that the Islanders are trying to act in accordance with the way they believe the audience will want. Right. So like,
Mm,
we may get to see more of what it is with Liz. Like I think we'll be able to tell like as time goes on, but I'm curious if it also had to do with like the production of it all as well.
yeah.
And then we finally get telling Rula about like the video, but it came from
Mm,
Rosie and not from Alicia. And I don't even know why it was planted on Alicia to begin with because like it should not come from
yes.
her. But Rosie tells her, and just Rula is doing her Rula thing. Like, how do you know the
Mhm.
timestamp is accurate? And like, blah, 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 blah. And then what's his name? Brian comes over and he says
Mhm.
the same sort of bullshit. He's like, you can change timestamps. I don't listen to this sort of
Yeah.
thing. And it's like, her instinct is just to like assume it's not true. I'm with her on like, this is not the time or place. I don't really say
Mhm.
that on reality TV, but when it's your own party, let's maybe not like
Yeah.
you're in my home and you're discrediting my marriage. That's
Yeah.
maybe tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with her on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But like her ability to really like assume that this entire person is AI is just beyond my comprehension.
Yes. Honestly, I mean, it
AI,
was like,
computer, no.
yes, it was a fake text thread. Like everything is just, I know. And like I feel for her because
Yeah,
of course you would want to have all of that not be true. And certainly you would want to save face and at least, make it seem like muddy the waters a little bit so people don't believe it on TV so that people in Australia and Canada aren't picking it apart. But, it's so clear. I mean, he just has guilt written all over his face. It is like to me watching it, I'm just like, oh, it is.
yeah,
And if that is your husband, surely you can see that.
yeah.
Surely, I feel like she's shelving it. She's like, okay, let's go do shots. Yeah, let's do that. And she's just putting it under the carpet and she will go and investigate. She has her ways, she said. But then, they're doing Watch What Happens live together and still,
I don't know.
yeah,
I'm still intrigued by it all. So then they're
Yeah.
all gonna go on like a cast trip, basically to like Block Lake. Is that what they called it? Like
Block
or something?
Island.
Block Island. Oh, there was one thing that I think I'm gonna use maybe as like the title of this episode. So Brian said that he trusts Joellen as much as gas station sushi.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're gonna call this
like-
episode Gas Station Sushi. Anyway, but
Yes.
they're all going to go away together, which I think is a great idea. I don't think we've ever had a cast trip start and end in one episode. It's usually like a series of a few episodes.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, but I think it'll be grand. I think it'll be great, especially with where we are with everyone. Like Alicia is just sort of wanting to placate Liz. Joellen and Liz aren't speaking. Kelsey and Rosie hate each other. Ashley's like, can't we all just get along? So I think we're in a fun place for a cast trip.
100%. Do we think Ruler's going to go? No.
I haven't even seen the preview. And she very well could be there. But it's just my automatic assumption at this point that the hospital is calling. And I don't mean because her husband's a doctor. I mean,
no.
An ailment is calling.
Yes, 100%. And, I would love it for her to be there. And you were right before about like time and place, not at my house and my party, but when else can they talk to her? Because
she doesn't show
literally
up to events.
Never else on
Even
camera.
Ashley was like, we haven't seen her in so long.
Yeah, seriously. It's like, it actually felt quite uncomfortable pretending she had any kind of relationship with half these women. She's literally met them 3 times, So I think she's, if she didn't have the cheating husband, would she have been more of a prominent figure in the show? I don't know.
I mean, like the fact that Bravo's even allowing this is kind of funny, that she's got like her name card and she's like a full-time cast member and all this stuff. I mean, I'm sure we'll hear more about it at the reunion. I'm sure people will ask. So I'm all jazzed for that. But before we sign off, is there any final points you want to make about RHORI this week?
I just think it is a fantastic, it has got everything. We've said this before, like an old school Housewives show has got. We've got the long-standing relationships, real drama, not just like what somebody said on a podcast, and we're going to talk about that for 16 episodes. It's and these women have so much depth. They're like, I mean, I know I said I feel like we know them because I
agreed until we got through it, and then I'm like, maybe.
Yeah. No, because you're right. I still think there are so many layers to uncover with all of them, but it just feels like they're so it's just such a professional production, and I don't mean in the fake OC Beverly Hills way where they've been doing it for so long that they are bringing fake storylines and covering up their lives. I just feel like this is like the OG good stuff. The reason we get hooked into Housewives to begin with, and I just hope it's cameras up really soon and we get this one. We don't have to wait a year for it to come back. You know?
I'd almost love it in the way that they do Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, where we've only been watching that show a year and a half, yet we're like 4 seasons in or something like that. So craziness. All right, well, you guys, thank you so much for being here today with us. We so appreciate it. You can watch this episode on the Bravo Investigator podcast feed. You can also watch it, and on YouTube. And you can also watch it on Jana's podcast feed, on the Pop Therapy YouTube channel. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at the Bravo Investigator. And also make sure to subscribe to both of our YouTube channels. Okay, you guys, it really helps. And Jana, why don't you tell the people where they can follow you as well?
Sure. Well, thank you for the YouTube shout out. Everything is going up there, but also you can find me on Instagram more than anywhere else, which is jana.firestone. That's JANA. And you can hit me up online at janafirestone.com.
Bye, you guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye. See you next week.
Thank you for listening to Pop Therapy with Jana Firestone.
And the Bravo Investigator podcast with Dana Regan.
Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at The Bravo Investigator, and subscribe to my YouTube channel.
And you can find me at Jana Firestone. That's JANA Firestone on Instagram, and the Pop Therapy Podcast on YouTube, TikTok, all the things.
You can see us collaborating every single week.
Come and listen, join the party, and don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating and review if you've enjoyed this episode. And join the conversation online. We would love to hear your thoughts.